Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to UpNorthLive Unscripted. I'm Allie Baxter, filling in for the Queen of Unscripted, Miss Maya Engel, today. She actually last night was enjoying the Detroit Lions football game, so you will see Maya back on your screen tomorrow. But for now, I'm filling in for her, and I'm going to go ahead and bring in our chief meteorologist, Joe Charlevoix. Hey, Joe, how's it going?
Good. How are you today?
Doing pretty well. You know, we're kind of matching a little bit with our blue today.
yeah, I just grabbed one off the shelf and that was that. But yeah, good choice today, Allie. Good choice. Hard to believe, 2 days ago it was in the 50s. It felt cold, windy, cloudy. We had showers. It felt like fall, and well, today we're back in the 70s to around 80 again, and it's going to carry on here, Allie. We have a pretty nice stretch of warm weather coming up here, so we'll talk more about that. How long it's going to last, and if we get any rain in the forecast too. More on that a little later.
All right. Thank you, Joe, for the preview. Well, tonight we're going to go ahead and start off with our question of the day. Now, this was a very popular one today. Have you or do you plan to get vaccinated for COVID-19 this year? And I've seen these results adjust even while we were live. So 32% so far say, yes, I do plan to get vaccinated for COVID-19 this year. And 68% are saying, no, I don't have any plans to get vaccinated for COVID-19 this year. And this is going hand in hand with one of our top stories tonight. But before we dive into that, I'm just going to read some of our Facebook comments. Now, if you haven't gotten a chance to vote yet, you can go ahead and scan that QR code on your screen to be able to do that. And to also join the conversation, if you have a comment and you'd like to pass along, you can do that as well. All right, so I'm going to go through some of these comments now. This one had a ton of comments on it, but most of them are memes or GIFs as well. All right, Carrie saying, no, I'm not going to. Mary saying, I never will. Kathy saying, no, I wish I hadn't gotten the first 3 vaccines. Mary saying, yes and yes. Aaron wants clarification on what vaccine. Sheila saying, definitely, I have every time. Shannon asking why. I don't feel like it's necessary. And then Mick is saying, yes, get every vaccination recommended. So right now, emergency rooms, urgent cares, and doctors' offices across northern Michigan are reporting an uptick in COVID cases. Now, for some patients, it may be similar to dealing with a cold. For others, it still poses a real risk. So it's a physician today who shares what he is seeing every day and what all of us should keep in mind moving forward. And so that was our top story for the evening. I'm going to go ahead and play that now.
Into viral season. It seems more and more that viral season never ends.
Some people call it fall, fancy folks call it autumn, but here at Munson Medical Center, the experts call it viral season.
We're definitely seeing an uptick. We haven't necessarily seen an uptick in hospitalizations, although we have had hospitalizations for COVID.
Right now, there are only a handful of COVID-related hospitalizations here, but daily, folks are walking through the doors at the ER, often with all the telltale symptoms.
Runny nose, sore throat, cough, congestion, fevers.
It's not just a Traverse City thing. According to the CDC, nationwide, the number of COVID cases is actually dipping. But dig deeper into the numbers, zoom in a little, and there are 5 states, pockets of COVID infections that are on the rise. Michigan is one of them.
Our tests are pretty good. They're very sensitive and specific for COVID, meaning that if you have COVID, it's going to pick it up.
And if it does, barring difficulty breathing, check with your doctor and take some steps for yourself.
In general, the guidelines for most respiratory viruses would be to stay at home until your symptoms are improving and you're fever-free without medications for about 24 hours.
It's COVID that's getting some attention now, but flu and RSV are right around the corner.
We need to take all of these very seriously.
And one of the best ways to do that?
I mean, we should always be washing our hands, right?
Stay clean, stay up to date with vaccinations, and if you're sick, stay home and follow some sage advice.
I always rely on what my grandmother would tell me, or what your grandmother would tell you. Tylenol, ibuprofen, stay hydrated with fluids, stay at home, watch Wheel of Fortune, eat chicken soup. They knew what they were talking about.
And our anchor, Mark Shillette, did work on that story today. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in Mark now. Hey, Mark, how's it going?
Good. How are you, Allie?
Pretty good. Pretty good. So you worked on this story today. And first off, I loved his advice of, hey, stay home, watch Wheel of Fortune, right? He knows all the great TV shows that you have to relax, bowl of chicken noodle soup as well.
Yeah, that's just wise advice. I mean, how many countless years of medical school did he go to? And yeah, watch your wheel and eat chicken noodle soup. Grandma had it right. And I think that's the challenging thing with COVID is that so many of us had COVID, and maybe sometimes it seemed like a cold, other times it really knocked you on your rear end. The range can be pretty large in terms of how much it affects you. And whether you choose to get vaccinated or not, that's obviously a personal choice. But the warning today from Dr. Britton and others in the medical community is this is virus season. It's fall. It's football season. Our kids are going back to school, and so they're around the germ factories sometimes that happens in school settings. So the virus season is here, and that's RSV, that's flu, and right now it's COVID here in Michigan. The uptick is up there. So there are some good general practices and guidelines that we should pop back up on our radar as we get into virus season. Flu's normally after the first of the year, RSV's a little bit later as well, but this is kind of our warning shot that it is that time of year for respiratory viruses. So do the things that you should be doing that we all kind of know that we should be doing that maybe we're not so good about doing. Hey, let's wash our hands. That's a big thing. Just don't spread those germs. And if you feel sick, stay home. Or if your kids feel sick, think about, do I want to send them to school today? And that's whether it's COVID, whether it's RSV, whether it's a stomach bug, whatever it is. Let's keep those kids home until they should be headed back into work. And you remember, I mean, we're all familiar with COVID when it was, if you got COVID, you're home for 14 days. Those guidelines, as more people have become vaccinated and as we've learned a little bit more about COVID, they're really saying, hey, with any of these respiratory viruses, 24 hours with no fever and no medication to bring down that fever. But then 3 to 5 days of those best practices. Keep yourself a little distanced, wash your hands. Think that, still best behavior for those 3 to 5 days after those symptoms have started to improve is probably good advice. So we are entering virus season, and that's really the take-home message.
And again, Mark, we are entering virus season, and that's because right now is kind of this perfect storm, right? It's going back to school, kids are in the classroom, and so we're seeing a lot of different things come together to create that perfect storm for virus season.
It really is, and it's we normally would not be talking about flu on a day when it's 80 degrees and we're headed towards mid-80s in the middle, right? We're not thinking about flu. But we may want to, and if you are somebody that gets the vaccines, gets the flu shot, and everything like that, it is time to start having those things on your radar. But and Dr. Britton kind of laughed about when he says this. He's like, we should all be washing our hands more. Hey, you know what? That's probably good life advice, whether you're concerned about COVID or anything. Wash your hands a little bit more. That's a pretty easy thing that nobody probably has a problem with hand washing. So we can all get on board and get on the wash your hands more train and just keep it on your radar. If you don't feel well, maybe that's not the time to go to the family reunion. Maybe that's not the time to maybe even go to work. Just protect other people from whatever it is, whether it's COVID, RSV, the flu, or anything. This is our warning shot before we hit the real serious parts of those potential viral infections.
And Mark, did that doctor share any information about what he's seeing specifically here in Grand Traverse County, Northern Michigan in general?
They see people come in, and it's funny. I asked him, I said, are people surprised when they come in and they have the cough, they have the fatigue, they have the fever, and are they surprised when they take the test that you have and it comes back positive? Now, I thought this was fascinating because 3-4 years ago, people would have been like, oh my gosh, I'm shocked that I'm positive for COVID, right? Even though it was far more prevalent then. He's like, no, most people are like, yeah, that's what I thought. It's kind of a statement, a testament of how that's become part of our lexicon and our mental radar of what a possibility it could be. So they are seeing people are coming in and they're getting tested. The good news is this. If I remember correctly, there's only about 6 people hospitalized with COVID right now, which is nothing compared to where we were several years ago. So for whatever reasons, whatever you want to credit that for, we aren't seeing the severity in the bulk of the cases that we did 3-4 years ago. So they are seeing it. People are coming in. It does still follow all the same patterns of, well, my uncle thought he had it and he came and we played cards and and I got it. And so it's the same pattern of transmission that we're all very, very familiar with. And so they are seeing people come into the emergency rooms. They are seeing people at urgent care coming in, feeling crummy. And sure enough, they test positive. So it is here. It will probably be here forever. So the best we can do is limit our risk and exposure to it. And then if you do get it, stay home, watch Wheel of Fortune, eat chicken noodle soup, right?
Perfect.
Right? Yeah. So I'm glad he went to medical school and learned all the serious stuff, and then he could give us that advice. But just lay low, take care of yourself, mend yourself, and try not to get anyone else sick.
Mark, is there anything else that you learned today that you feel like would be important for the community to know?
There is apparently a new COVID vaccine that's in the works to address the new strain, and that will be available in a couple of weeks. So really, the thing, and we're not here to tell you to get vaccinated. We're not here to tell you to not get vaccinated. That's your choice, and we respect that. Talk to your doctor, talk to your healthcare provider, talk to your primary care physician about the pros and the cons. And if you perhaps are in an at-risk group where it really makes a lot of sense for you to get vaccinated or not, have that discussion with your doctor so that you make that game plan. And that has to do with RSV vaccines, because those are out, flu vaccines, those are going to be out, COVID vaccines are out. Talk to your doctor and make the decision for yourself as to what you want to do. But it's not too early to start having those conversations and making a game plan as football season and virus season both get going, so that you have a plan for what you're going to do for the winter months up here.
All right. Well, Mark, thank you so much for joining us tonight on Unscripted. And I'm going to read one more comment before we head for a break. Barb was chiming in during that segment saying, thanks for sharing this important information. Now I'm going to go ahead and put back up our question of the day. So if you haven't gotten a chance to vote on it and you are joining us online tonight, you can go ahead and scan the QR code that will be on your screen during our commercial break. Now, when we come back, we're going to check in with Joe for the weather that you can anticipate for the rest of the week. You're watching Up North Live Unscripted. Welcome back to Up North Live Unscripted. We're going to go ahead and bring in Chief Meteorologist Joe Charlevoix now to give us a preview of the week of weather. Hi, Joe.
Hi. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to preview because it's going to be nice and pleasant, but I guess that's better than, bad weather, right?
I did see all the string of sunshines earlier when you were pulling up the Outlook. It looked really nice.
Yeah, well, I'll show it to you again here in a moment. This is pretty nice too, Allie. Let's take a look. We'll go to Houghton Lake in Roscommon County. It's a live look right now. 73 and sunny. Beautiful day. Low humidity. And again, it was just 2 days ago, if you recall, Friday and then also Saturday, when we had 50s for highs and we had a little preview of fall. But since then, we have started to rebound in terms of temperature. Here's a look around the Western Great Lakes tonight. Our satellite and radar imagery combined. Not much happening here. It's pretty quiet. A little bit of rain here well east of us in New York State, that area. And then off to the west of us, there's just nothing happening here. A few showers and storms out in the Rockies with the daytime heating, but there's nothing imminently close. And so it's going to stay pretty quiet for us. We'll show you that on Stormcast. We'll run this out. Dry tonight. There's tomorrow on Tuesday. Now, you see the white there. That's cloud cover. I do think there will be some clouds tomorrow, filtered through some sun. But overall, a pretty quiet day. The only thing is Tuesday night into early Wednesday up in the UP Straits, right there. You might, even far northern lower Michigan, you might get a couple rain showers. There's a little weak impulse coming in. So the chance for rain this week is not completely zero. But even if you see these showers up north, again, that would be late Tuesday night, early Wednesday. It isn't a big deal. They'll move on, and then we're back to dry weather. It's quite a bit of sunshine for Thursday, which looks pretty nice and also pretty warm. One more thing to show you. We're going to head down to the Gulf of Mexico. This is, right there, Tropical Storm Francine. So there it is. Maximum winds now at 65 miles per hour. To reach hurricane strength as a Category 1 hurricane, the winds need to get to 74 miles per hour. So we're getting close. This is offshore of Mexico currently. But if we track this out, this should strengthen into a Category 2 hurricane and head toward Louisiana and then make landfall on Wednesday there, and then eventually head up into the Midwest, weakening around the St. Louis area, southern Illinois, and kind of rain itself out there. I show you that because, well, that's the track on Francine, but also you see it down there in the Gulf of Mexico. Watch as it heads up into the Midwest here, into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I don't think we get much rain here, if any, but we are probably going to see some clouds with that Friday into Saturday. So we'll keep an eye on that, but a little bit of cloud cover. But again, it doesn't look like much rain with that, at least for the time being. That's something we'll keep an eye on. The other story is the warm weather. Yeah, it's going to hang around. Look at that, 80s just about each day. These are our average numbers, kind of peaking there on the Thursday, Friday time frame. But again, 80s expected for the most part as we move forward. Looking at the extended forecast, you mentioned the string of sunny days. There it is. Maybe a couple showers north Wednesday. We just showed you that. But quiet. Some clouds again as Francine lifts north, but a pretty warm and, again, uneventful stretch of weather coming up here as we move forward, Allie, for the rest of this week. So if you like that summer warmth, that's what we're looking at going forward here.
I think we could all do one last bit of warm weather before we dive into the fall temperatures.
I 100% agree.
Well, thank you so much for that, Joe. And coming up, we've got Sports Director Harrison Beebe, who's going to highlight some of the plays from last week. But before that, I'm going to go ahead and throw up our question of the day again. For those of you who are joining us online, if you haven't voted or commented yet, you can go ahead and do that by scanning the QR code on your screen. You're watching Up North Live Unscripted. Well, welcome back to Up North Live Unscripted. Before we get to sports director Harrison Beebe, he has a video highlighting some of the top plays from last week. So I'm going to bring that up real quick before we chat with Harrison.
On your prep plays of the week from week 2 in high school football, check out East Jordan. Corbin Russell for Ryder Malpass actually bounces off Ryder, but Jacob Haley is there to make the great catch against Johannesburg Lewiston. Big plays like that leading their 2-0 start. Petoskey in action, Corbin Salitis with a deep pass to Seth Merrick against Bay City Western. Didn't get into the end zone, but got pretty close, and a great catch by Merrick. Traverse City Central at home taking on Parma Western. Carter Glee at quarterback. He decides to take it himself for a monster run down the field for the junior. Tried to get the Trojans a win. They did fall short, but great effort by Glee in that one. And in 8-player football highlights, another set of Trojans, Central Lake Trojans. Billy Hopp disappears in the Gaylord St. Mary line, but then reappears for a great gain. Be sure to head to our website, UpNorthLive.com. Lend your vote to what you think is the prep play of the week, and we'll find out during sports at 11 which play came out number 1.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and bring in Harrison now. And Harrison, you're back on the road.
Back on the road. Yep. We've got the last week's prep plays of the week in the rear view mirror, although in reality, they're going to be featured tonight at 11 when we see which member or which pick the audience members determine as the top play of the week. This is a really cool feature we do with Up North Live. We let the fans vote on what they think is the best play. I mean, I can be a judge if I want. I do gather a lot of those highlights, but at the end of the day, it's probably the audience's opinion that matters a little bit more than mine. So it's always exciting to see what pick they go with for those plays. I know which one I would pick, and I think last I looked, that was leading the poll, but we'll have to wait and see. You never know. Those communities get the votes circulating. Sometimes it sways the momentum a little bit. But that's democracy for you, the voice of the people. Tonight, I'm going on to Elk Rapids. We were here a week ago for Elk Rapids, taking on an opponent at Harbor Springs in the Northern Shores Conference. But this week, Elk Rapids is taking on Grayling, and they are the top 2 teams in that conference race. Elk Rapids kind of the de facto powerhouse of that now new conference, Old Lake Michigan Conference. But at the same time, Grayling has had a couple good seasons here, and last I checked, they were undefeated. So we're expecting another pretty good matchup out there between those two, and those highlights will come up at 11.
All right. Well, thank you, Harrison, for the preview. And I'm going to throw back up our question of the day one more time for your chance to vote. You're watching Up North Live Unscripted. Welcome back to Up North Live Unscripted. We're going to take one last look at the results of our question of the day. Have you or do you plan to get vaccinated for COVID-19 this year? Now, the results have changed a little bit since the start of the show. 33% saying yes, and 67% saying no. Well, thanks for joining us tonight on Up North Live Unscripted. We'll see you back here tonight at 11.